Hi guys, welcome to All About Energy, our all new video series where we are talking about all things spiritual, metaphysical, and cosmic. And our goal for this video series is to talk about all the hottest topics in spirituality and energy work. So we will be covering everything from astrology to channeling to psychic development to energy protection tools and so much more. And if you're new to working with us, we would love to connect with our viewers. So please feel free to reach out to us on social media or through the comments and give us any suggestions you have of what you would like to hear videos on. We would love to know what questions you have, what topics you want to know more about, and just what kind of hurdles are you hitting in your spiritual practice? Because we want these videos to help you on your spiritual path. So reach out to us at any time. We will have our contact information at the bottom of the screen throughout the video. So reach out to us. We'd love to connect with you. So tonight's topic, we are going to be sharing a little bit about how we each got started on our spiritual journey. A little bit of what brought us from our very diverse backgrounds into this area of energy work that the three of us are so passionate about. But before we dive in, I want to introduce my amazing team. So Corey, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Corey Davidson, and I'm an intuitive, clairvoyant reader, teacher, and healer. I'm also a Reiki practitioner and an alchemical hypnotherapist. And I also do a bit of astrology, which is my first passion when it started with this journey.
Welcome, Corey. It's so good to have you. Yaila, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Peyton. I am Yaila Weddle, and I am an intuitive teacher and healer as well as a reader. I love to teach beginners on learning about what their clairsenses are, opening up those gifts, as well as a theta healing practitioner. So working with really deep core beliefs and changing that to tap into your true self. So I work one-on-one with clients and also teach classes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Peyton Craning. I am an intuitive, a channel, an energy healer, and an Akashic record reader. I'm also an energy teacher. And I work primarily with people who have been on their spiritual path for a while, who already have a strong foundation and a strong practice in place, who want to do the really deep healing and clearing work and become just experts at controlling and mastering their energy. And I love working with all forms of energy work and talking about energy work with ladies that I respect as much as these two is just one of my favorite things to do. And so I'm so excited that we have come together to share our knowledge and experience to help you guys on your spiritual path. So tonight, what we're going to be doing is sharing a little bit about how we came to be doing this unusual work, because most of us started doing something very, very different. So we thought it would be helpful to just share our journey and how that brought us to what we're doing today and why we think that this work is so important that we are coming together to share our knowledge and experience with all of you. So Corey, would you like to tell us a little bit about what brought you to energy work?
I would love to. I was born a twin, and I was born telepathic. So I would have conversations with my twin brother. We would, go on long drives and really have conversation for hours. And then when we opened up our mouths, we would be saying the same thing. And it started there. I grew up in the music industry. My mother worked in the music industry, and um, and that journey was very exciting. But I started it from a very young age, and then went into modeling and acting, and landed in being a makeup artist and working in the film industry. And I've been working in the film industry for 30 years. And along the way, my parents divorced when I was 10, and so I didn't have a father figure around, and it affected my relationships. And But being in the music industry and the film industry and having a crooked picker, I suffered a lot of trauma. And I was in a relationship, and that triggered every trauma I had in my entire life. And I suffered PTSD, and I have a daughter, and we both suffered extreme PTSD. I'm in a 12-step program, several, and I had done a lot of work on myself. I mean, a lot of work. I'd, been through therapy, and I was still in this state of PTSD. And uh, I have a higher power, and had a higher power for many, many years at that point, and have a very close relationship with my higher power. But I was still suffering. I was just suffering, and I was doing a lot of work, and nothing was working. And this woman walked into my life, and she talked about energy work. And I was like, well, what's that? And at that point, I tried everything. So I said, fine. When I reached her office, I said, you have to turn this off. You just have to turn this off. I can't go around feeling everything, knowing that something's going to happen, but not knowing what it is, and when it's going to happen. Just turn it off. And she's like, you don't want to do that. And I said, well, then you have to teach me how to manage it. And that began my journey. She healed me through energy work, clearing the traumas, in my energetic, in my body, moving that energy. And it was life-changing. And my daughter she was psychic from the beginning. She was telling me things before she was even 2. And so when I was able to go on this journey, she would talk to the angels and give me messages and hold my hand and heal me, and didn't really know. But when I found this lady, I was able to help my daughter as well. And then we ended up taking classes and getting educated, because I had that one woman who, I took some classes from her, and we ended up at a school that now I teach. And it has saved my life. This journey and learning about energy work has saved my life and my daughter's. She was unable to go out into the world because she was just so sensitive and such an empath. And I wanted to help her, and in turn helped myself. And because it changed my life so much, I wanted to be able to give back. And so now I teach it, and I have clients, and I can see the change in others, that I got. So, like most of us, I had a lot of trauma. I had a lot of trauma, and that got me on this journey. But it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And so it is my passion now to help my clients and give back, and teach people about tools. I'm a big advocate in education, because my daughter and I are living proof that getting a proper education and getting tools in the energy field can and is life-changing. So that's how I got here. Yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful, Corey. Thank you for sharing that. Yaila, what about you? What brought you to energy work?
Well, there's definitely always some similarities with everybody. So I'm sure those of you who heard Corey's story, I'm sure you can relate to it. My background definitely was not in energy work. A lot of people ask me like, oh, so were you just were you born with these gifts? And in my mind, I always thought people that did this type of work that could read energy and do healings, they were born special, or they had some crazy life or death experience that all of a sudden opened up these gifts. I never had either one. I actually stumbled on the energy work through a dude, a guy. I was having boy problems. And I went for just a fun reading with a friend of mine to this medium. And she, of course, I'm asking her all these questions about, what was going on. And truth be told, I was seeing the red flags. My gut was kind of telling me what was up, but my mind was trying to talk me out of it because I didn't want to believe it. And so talking to this lady, just asking her these questions, she was basically just confirming everything I was kind of picking up on. And long story short, at the end of the reading, she has this little box of gemstones, and I wasn't really connected to crystals at the time. I'm like, whatever, she has you pick this gemstone and you hold it throughout the reading. And at the end, she does a reading for you. Well, at the end, I had picked this amethyst, and she's like, well, reading the rock, you have, these gifts if you want to open them up. I'm like, I do? What gifts? And she's like, well, like what I'm doing here with you. And I'm like, I do? And she's like, yeah. She's like, you can open them up if you want to. I'm like, how do you open them up? I had never heard of anything like this. And she's like, well, you can take classes on them. And I was like, mind blown. I'm like, there's classes on this stuff? I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this is crazy. Like, she was coming at me from far left field. And so I kind of, asked her more questions, and she gave me some different places to look into. And one of my coworkers at the time happened to check into one of those places. And so I was, interrogating my coworker about, what is this place that you checked into? What is this energy work? Tell me more about this. It was all like super new to me, and ended up going for a free reading at the school that I teach at now. And had a great reading, and there was a class starting the next week, and I ended up taking that women's intuition class and loved it, and took class after class and went to the clairvoyant programs. And next thing you know, now I'm a teacher at the school. I never would have thought that would have happened, all from a dude who was breaking my heart. I wanted just to I didn't want to hear the information at the time, but it was, just the confirmation I needed. But the biggest shift for me when I really got into the energy work, I was a health coach at the time. And it was something I thought I was going to build my own business as. It was my passion. My background was nutrition. I really saw myself in the coaching side. But I worked for a company coaching 15 to 20 people a day. So it was like back-to-back phone calls. So 80 to 100 people a week, it's a lot. If you've ever worked with that many people, it's a ton of people. And I didn't realize, but like Corey, I'm a huge empath, and Peyton as well, I know you are too, just huge empath. And so I was taking on all of the people's energy around me, thinking it was my own, and didn't realize until I started doing the energy work. I'm like, oh, that's their energy. This is mine. I learned how to reconnect with myself, kind of clear my space. And when I was working at the job, I was super burnt out, where I would just go home and just crash. I kind of went hermit mode. I couldn't talk to anybody. I didn't want to hang out with my friends. I didn't want to socialize. I was just so burnt out on other people's energy. And so the first thing, as far as like stumbling into this work, it wasn't just to, get rid of patterns with unhealthy relationships with guys in my life, but it was really learning how to find myself again, connect back to my energy, and really support myself. And like Corey mentioned, it's something that really, it was kind of that missing piece in my life. I started bringing in the tools that I learned through the school in my coaching practice. And I found that the energy work was just such a strong missing piece that I was called more to work with people on that end versus the coaching side. And that's really where I made the big shift into teaching and working one-on-one with clients with energy. So all from a dude.
Things that don't lead us places.
How about you, Peyton?
Well, I love hearing how everyone gets started in energy work, because you start to see, like you said, Yaila, you start to see themes. As I listen to you guys tell your stories, I'm like, oh, me too. So I am quite possibly the least likely person to be doing energy work that you could ever meet, because I came from a very mainstream corporate background. I was a lawyer for my first life, and did that for a long, long time. And the universe really had to kind of lead me on a twisting, turning path to bring me to energy work, because it was just not something that was on my radar screen. It wasn't really something that, coming from a very left brain logical background, that I was really open to or interested in. So I had kind of universe had to pull me in through the back door. So what kind of first put the idea in my head, and the way I first dipped my toe in, was I was just looking for a way to reduce work stress. I worked crazy long hours, was doing back-to-back trials, was out of town all the time, and I was just completely miserable and burnt out. And I didn't know what to do about it, but I knew something had to change. And within a period of just a couple months, I stumbled on martial arts, meditation, and metaphysics. And I started to practice all of these different practices at the same time. And they kind of started to open up my mind to this whole world of energy, which was completely foreign to me. I had never heard of any of this work, but it introduced me to the idea that everything is energy. And our energy is actually what creates our life experience. And we actually have control over that. We can actually control our life much more than we think we can. And so that was all brand new to me. And so once the door had been cracked, the universe could drop the big bombs on me. And so what really turned my whole life absolutely upside down was that I met my first psychic medium, who did a reading for me. And actually, that's something that would have been too far out of my comfort zone. So actually, she first read my golden retrievers. And she was so accurate, so profound, that I just had to see what she could do with humans. And so I just called her. I'm like, do you work on people? And she's like, yeah, I mostly work on people. So I did a reading from her, which was so far out of my comfort zone, but I was so burned out and so miserable that, like Corey said, I was willing to try anything. You know, the universe had me on my knees. I'm like, show me anything that will help me get out of the way I feel right now. And so she did a reading for me, which was so profound. I cried for the next 2 days straight afterwards, because she gave me hope. And what she helped me understand was that a large part of the reason that I was so miserable and so burned out wasn't just because I had a stressful job. Yes, that was part of it. But it was because, as Yaila was mentioning, I was a huge empath, and I was wide open to energy and hugely intuitive without knowing what that was or having any idea how to control it. So I was just going through my life with all my circuits wide open, sucking up all the negative and toxic energy of everyone I was interacting with. She's like, of course you feel like crap. I'm like, what? So she kind of put into context everything that was happening with me that I had no vocabulary for. And so she gave me hope that there was a solution. And so the first thing she recommended, and I know all three of us are such huge advocates of training and education. And so the first thing she told me is, she gave me a big pile of books to read to learn what it was to be intuitive, because I had never heard that word. And like Yaila said, I thought people like her were special. I thought, here's this gifted woman. There's no way I could do something like that. But one of the first things she told me is, you can do exactly what I'm doing. She's like, you'd be really, really good at it. She's like, but you have to get training. You have to control it. You can't just shoot around like an unguided missile, which was what I was doing. She's like, that's a quick road to burnout. So I started looking into every form of training I could. I became a complete energy junkie. Anyone who would teach me, would give me books, would, teach a conference, I was there. I was all in. Because what I noticed as I started to get training is that as I started to apply these tools, first of all, I started to feel better. The anxiety went away. I wasn't a nervous wreck all the time. I could sleep again. I started to just see the positive changes rippling out through my life. And even things I wasn't working on improved. And so I'm like, I'm onto something here. I have never seen any other modality that has this kind of results. And so I just became absolutely fascinated with this work. And it just became my passion to teach these incredibly profound tools to people who don't know they're out there. Because, like me, I had no idea that there was help for the way I was feeling. I had tried everything and just kept feeling worse and worse and worse. And so many people suffer so much in their life because they don't know that these tools exist that can help you feel better and live a happier, more peaceful, productive life. But it's just not widely known. So I believed in it so much. I left my law practice abruptly and started my company to bring these tools to as many people as I can reach so that everyone doesn't have to suffer the way we have talked about. This path is not without, little headache and heartache to get here, but there's a solution. And so my passion is sharing this information with as many people as we can reach. And I love that I found you guys who share that passion and that we're doing that through these videos. So that's kind of how I completely turned my life upside down.
It's so great to hear, where both of you have come from too. I just love, like we've all kind of mentioned, and I'm sure, you watching, you probably can resonate with a lot of what we all have shared and said. And it's hard to say, how do you encompass years of your journey in just, a couple minutes to share. There's so many twists and turns and highs and lows and all of that fun stuff along the journey. But, just feel really grateful that I've met the two of you. We've been a part of each other's learning and growth, learning these tools and being able to support each other along that. And now we get to make these videos. So it's really huge blessing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree, and I've found you ladies, and I've found a group of like-minded people that I'm not afraid to get vulnerable with, because before, coming to this, as was said by both of you as well, going around, everyday life, just absorbing all this energy and spending, I know I spent my life, constantly trying to protect myself, because I was taking in all this energy. And I mean, you ladies are so special to me, because in doing this work, you do get a stronger foundation within yourself. And therefore, I mean, I know that I can tell you ladies anything. There isn't anything that I can't talk about with you ladies, because we have that commonality, and have embraced our own strengths and weaknesses, right, to heal. And I think that's what human beings are always looking for, that unconditional love, and to feel good and empowered and safe within themselves. And that's the wonderful thing too about getting education and finding a class, that you can go the journey with other people, because you get really close. You end up, really close with some of your classmates, and you find an instant tribe that you can live the rest of your life and heal and grow together.
For me, it's definitely less lonely. Realizing that I wasn't the weird one. I always felt like I never belonged in groups and situations, and meeting people like yourselves. I'm like, oh, so I'm not that weird. Other people experience these type of things too. Because I just thought, people could pick up on, because I could read people like this, and I thought everybody could. And what you can, if you learn to strengthen those pieces of yourself. But yeah, way less lonely meeting you too.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best things about this journey, even though it had its painful moments and still does. You find your tribe because you start to be your authentic self and you realize you're not alone in this journey. because from talking to so many people who have come through the spiritual path, or learn to develop their abilities, they always felt alone, like they couldn't quite relate to normal, quote unquote, people. And I certainly did, always suffered in silence. Because from the outside, it looks like you have it all together. But when you're sensitive, especially if you don't know how to control that sensitivity, if you don't have tools and training, it can be a very isolating, lonely, painful way to go through life, especially for empaths and sensitives who it can be really suffering. It can be suffering to not have these tools and know how to, just these simple tools can help you take control of your life back. And you become a whole new person, and you start to look back and you almost can't recognize your life because so much has changed. And you find your soul tribe who has gone through has similar battle wounds, and can understand and can support you on it. And it's really life changing. So this is powerful work, and it's just such an honor to have met such incredible women like you and to be on this journey together. So,
And you know what I love too, a lot is that, I remember growing up, being telepathic, being able to read people's minds, saying something that somebody was thinking, or just being able to feel something and say, I don't know, I feel this, and people going, oh no, it's all in your head. Oh, you're silly, or having somebody talk to me and knowing that they were lying. I could just tell. I mean, I just knew that. I just had this clear knowing. And finding a tribe, and you ladies that, I don't have to hide. I don't have to hide, and be my authentic self, and not worry about, whether somebody's lying or not, because we all know that we all know that we know that but it takes that away. It just takes it away, where because we accept each other unconditionally, and that's what's so wonderful. Yeah, that's
Well,
just wonderful about this journey.
I think the tools too, it's doing the different readings and healings, and how we all have learned the tools. You work with your higher self, creator, different guides and healing masters and things like that, and they have taught me how to see things through the lens of love. So even when I work with clients and students, it helps me see the human side of it and help me find compassion for my own experiences, forgiveness to my own experiences, for myself and other people in my life. So it's really helped me learn a deeper level of healing, just on a personal level, but also when I'm able to connect with clients and students, just really see through that lens of love versus judgment that we have kind of been conditioned to view the world.
Absolutely. And it takes a little time to kind of, get to that point. And a lot of it is, Corey, like you were talking about, is healing your own trauma. Once we start to peel some of that trauma layers, because, some of us have had so much trauma to have to clear before we can be authentic and feel safe doing that. Because it's not a safe feeling, if you still have a lot of trauma energy or, wounding, in your energetic field. You don't feel safe to do that. So you go through life feeling like you have to, like it's a battleground, until you do the work and start to release some of that, and you start to feel like yourself again. But it's a process, but there is help available for everyone who might be going through something like this and can't put a name to it or figure out why they feel bad. There's not always a reason that, you should feel, so drained by people's energy or, miserable. There are tools that can help you with that. And knowing they're out there, I think, is the first step. And that there are teachers and communities to support you and will embrace you no matter who you are and what you've been through. So.
And that's what I love about being here together with you ladies, is that, is to be able to, get it out there, that there is help, and that you don't have to be alone, and you don't have to suffer,
Nope.
There is help, and there's a bunch of us, right, that help people and
And there's
have helped
more of the world.
ourselves.
Yeah. And I feel like there's more people who are opening up to these gifts, and the consciousness is rising now on the planet. It's becoming, when I used to be afraid to kind of share that I did this work, and now I don't really care who knows that I can read energy. I just kind of share it. And there's a lot more people that are like, oh, wow, interesting, and like curious, where when I was first doing it, they're like, okay, crazy lady. So it is like you were saying, Peyton, learning how to connect with yourself or feel comfortable. When I was doing this work, I kind of felt like I was in this cage. I didn't really know who I was. I didn't know how to get out of like the little box I put myself in, and I didn't really know what that person looked like outside of whatever little box I had around myself. So it's interesting work for sure, but very well worth it.
Yeah, that's so funny what you say that, Yaila, because this is something that I never would have mentioned when I was still practicing law. I would not have mentioned this in the boardroom or in front of anyone, but it was something I was just learning. And now it's like I've become a magnet to other professional women who are miserable in what they're doing, but don't see an exit strategy. They don't see what can help them, feel better and, get better balance in their life. And so when we start to put our stories out there, we start to show people they're not alone, and that there are people who can help you and guide you and have been there, have felt what you're feeling and found a way out. So powerful work.
Very powerful work. Agreed. Very powerful work. And the most satisfying, I must say. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's nothing like it for totally transforming your life. I've never seen anything like it.
Nope.
And so,
and we've all seen a lot, I think, combined with all of our different trainings and modalities. I mean, even as a health coach, I've had all these different trainings and certifications, and this was the missing piece that working for myself and my clients, this is what made the changes.
Yep. This is what turned everything 180 degrees for me. Complete transformation of everything. Even the things I wasn't trying to change got better. So it really is a miracle cure on many, in many ways, I think.
Yeah. I agree.
Energy.
It's all about
Everything's
energy. All about energy.
All about energy.
It's all about energy. Yeah, one of the big things too is that it helps others to own their own stuff. Is to own their own stuff. I know for me, instead of looking at the outside world, I was able to look at me and realize I wasn't as bad as I thought I was. And the things that were unbearable, there was a way to heal it. There was a way out of it. Yeah.
I think that's one of the most powerful things about energy work. Anything can be healed. Anything can be transmuted. Energy is energy. It can always be changed to another form. And so, that's, when you really think about that, that's huge. How much control we really have.
Yeah.
That we don't realize.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, this was great, ladies. I loved hearing everyone's stories. Thank you so much for sharing with everyone. Yaila, how can people connect with you offline?
Offline, you can find me at a couple of different places. So for starters, if you're on Instagram, you can find me at Yaila, just Yaila. And from there, I have on my link in my bio, there's meditations, a grounding meditation, heart opening meditation. I have different courses available, upcoming events, my website. So it's kind of the one-stop shop. You can also just find me directly at my website at yailaweddle.com, YAILAWEDDLE.com. That also has, of course, my membership. I have free content, so there's always stuff on there, courses, or at the school that I teach at with Corey called it's called Intuitive Insights. The website is myintuition.net. And there's a lot of great teachers. Vesta, the school's director, has had that school since the 90s. So it's really established, and that's where you can find me.
Mm.
And how about you, Corey? Where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on my website, which is new. It's new. I'll have courses on there and you'll be able to book appointments. And that is Claire Core, that's CLAIRCORE.com. And I'll have videos up, these videos as well. And you can also find me on Instagram at Claire Core, CLAIRCORE, energetics. Claire Core Energy. So Instagram, Claire Core Energy. And you can also find me as well at Intuitive Insights, and that's myintuition.net. And how about you, Peyton?
You can find me on my website, which is my first name, Peyton, Energetics, ENERGETICS.com. And on the website, you'll find all my classes and my mentoring programs. So check that out. And you can also find me on Instagram at Peyton Energetics, where I post weekly videos on all sorts of energy topics with lots of tips and tricks to just implement all of these tools into your life. So check that out. Come connect with any of us. We would love to hear from you guys. We are so grateful that you're watching the videos. Please let us know if you have any suggestions for topics you'd like us to talk about, any questions you'd like us to answer, because we would like to make these videos as useful to you as we possibly can. And don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe to our channel. And we are so excited to have spent some time with you, and we will see you next time. Have a great night.
Yeah. And you can also find us on all three of us on YouTube,
Yes.
and that is Claire Core. We're on Claire Core on YouTube. We will be on there until we get our own little channel. So also, you can find us all on YouTube, Claire Core.
Great.
Thank you.
And if you stay till the very end of this video, we'll have a slide that just gives all of our names, websites, and social media handles. So if you just want to everything in one place, just stay tuned for 2 more seconds and you'll see it. So have a great night, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for coming.